Satnam, everybody. Satnam, aloha. And can everybody hear me? Can you just press yes, yay, or nay on the chat? Okay, I can hear myself here. Okay, great. Okay, so let's prepare to tune in with the Adi Mantra. So, Om Namo Gurudev Namo. And so with the intention of that longing to be with your soul. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. That longing to be with your own inner teacher, your own inner guru. That's what's bringing you from the darkness into the light that's inside you. Okay? So bring your palms together and rub them. And feel the heat between your hands. And bring your hands into prayer pose at your heart center. And breathing long and deep through the nostrils. And just taking a moment to become receptive to the full moon energies, to these evolutionary energies that are bringing us into the Aquarian Age. So just feel yourself open up to this healing energy as a lot of us gather in the light in real time and then in the future. And inhale deeply. Exhale. Inhale to the base of the spine. Exhale. And inhale to tune in. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Adgare Namah, Shagadgare Namah, Satgare Namah, Siddhgurudeva Namah. Adgare Namah, Shagadgare Namah, Satgare Namah, Siddhgurudeva Namah. Adgare Namah, Shagadgare Namah, Satgare Namah, Siddhgurudeva Namah. Inhale deeply. Suspend the breath. And press your palms together and bring your focus to your third eye, the point between your brows, and channel the energy up. And exhale and relax your hands down. So I hope you're warm wherever you are in the world. And I'm presently located on the island of Maui, and we are going through some cold spells. So it's really raining hard today. We've actually had snow. So I know when I look around the world, I have no right to complain, but I think we're all going through a lot of earth changes right now. And so this is going to continue. And remember that our environment is just a reflection of us, right? The world's not really changing. We're the ones who are changing. And the world is a reflection of that, right? It's a mirror of these changes. So today I want to look at the full moon. So happy full moon. Okay. Happy full moon. And I'm going to share my screen here. There we go. So there's the chart of the full moon. Also, you may be going through, it's the full moon in Virgo. Right, the astrological sign Virgo. And Virgo is all about health, right, and purification. So a lot of people that I know, including myself, I mean, I haven't had a cold in, oh my God, like maybe over 3 years. I haven't had a cold. Cold hit me. And it's our body, right? It's cleansing and purifying. That's a word for Virgo, is purification, so that we can bring in these higher frequencies of energy. So if you're going through some kind of health thing, like a cold or flu or having some aches and pains, that's all par for the course. So it's the best thing to handle that during this time, because we're going to be going through that more and more, right, as we evolve into the Aquarian Age. It's not to attach. Don't let the mind attach like, oh, I'm sick. I've got a deadly illness, right? Don't attach to it. It's just the body doing its thing. It's clearing. So when you look at it as an energetic clearing, then it moves faster. And it's just like you're out of the way, the ego's out of the way, mind's out of the way, so that the body can cleanse and purify itself. Okay? Okay, so I wrote some notes here. I want to refer to them so I stay on track. So before we get to the real star of the show, which is the moon, I want to go through a few things like this channel here, right? So you see this 63, and I'm assuming some people have some experience with human design, right? That's the system that I use in the gene keys. So human design, that's where this chart comes from, because somebody asked last week under my one of my YouTube videos, it's like, well, how do you get all this stuff? Well, it's this is the human design system that's here, right here. So you can see that it's got like the glyphs, you know, the sun, the earth, the moon, north node, south node, Mercury, and on and on. So it's a synergy of astrology, and then the chakra system. These centers connect to the chakra system. And then the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life and the I Ching, of course, right? Those are these numbers. They come from the I Ching, which is comes from the Book of Changes. That's the most ancient book, spiritual book on the planet that we know of. So it's really describing the 64 archetypes of creation. So in astrology, we have 12 archetypes. So this like blows it out to 64. So you can really get specific. Okay, so let's go to this, get this out of the way, this channel here. So do you see the numbers, right? They correspond to the I Ching, so a gene key, so 60 and then the 3, and that's what defines these centers. So imagine like this is the collective body, right? If we were all 7 billion of us, we're all thrown in a big soup pot, and then out comes this body. This is like the collective body, so you have to look at it like that. So this is the snapshot of the full moon, so it gives us lots of information. So you can see this 60, and then the 3. And then you look over to 60, right here, and it's in the south node, and people who know that know astrology, right, or K2, you want to say K2, the south node, this is what we're eliminating, what we're getting rid of. And then the north node is where where the program is telling us where we need to go. So this makes a channel in human design. It's the channel of mutation. So this has been here since October 2018. This has been with us. This channel has been defined. So what does this mean, the channel of mutation? So remember that we're evolving into a new species. It's a real thing. And if you're sensitive in your body, you can feel it. There's so many changes that are going on inside each one of us. So this is the channel of mutation. So how this works, it works in a pulse, right? Evolution works in a pulse. So pulse, 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 stop. Pulse, 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 stop. Pulse, 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 stop. So what this is telling us here, it's kind of like the cycles of change that we go through, you know? So sometimes it's like we're feeling like we're going through a lot of change, and we're progressing, and we're improving, and things are happening, and then nothing, right? Crickets. There's nothing happening at all, but there's a lot happening right? In truth, a lot's happening deep inside of us. So this is how this mutation works. So let's look at the 60, right? What we're letting go of. And this is the root chakra. So it's a pressure. It's the pressure to evolve. And 60 is all about that. It's ruled by Saturn, right? Capricorn. It's the shadow of limitation. And it's all about letting go of all those limitations and the rat-tat-tat and the taxes and borders and crossings, and you know what I'm talking about. How they keep track of us. It gets so convoluted and complex. It's limiting. It limits us, right? It limits us. It's not who we are, and it's all based in fear. Because you look at laws. Laws are only to protect territory, right? And money, territory and money. And territory can be your body, too. That's a territory. So the self-note is like we need to let go of that, right? And when we start letting go of that, what happens? This is chaos, right? The third gene key, the shadow is chaos. And that's in Uranus, right? So 60's in the self-node, and Uranus is the third gene key. And Uranus is our subconscious mind, so it's all about our conditioning. So what looks chaotic out there, there's actually an order, right? There's an order to it all. And there's a program. Like, thank God, it gives me great comfort to know that there's a natural intelligence that's really guiding us all into the Aquarian Age, right? So, and we don't have control over this pulse, right? It's happening on its own accord. And so you can see this with people waking up, right? Waking up and not getting bogged down in the rules and the laws and realizing, hey, that law is not morally correct. It's not okay to send kids into detention centers, right? It's making us wake up to the God's law, not man's law. Because remember, man's law at one time was like, oh, it's legal for women not to have property, to not to vote. It's legal to own a slave. Does that make it right? No. Man's law does not make it right. So this is what we're waking up to, you know? And so remember, Uranus is all about liberation. It's liberation. And it's moving into the zodiac sign of Taurus, which is going to be a big deal on March 6th. I'll probably do a longer webinar type thing for that, because it tracks the next 7 years, what we're going to be going through. So this channel can bring you into some really dark places, and I'm sure that everybody's experienced that. Like, you've really had to face some dark places within yourself. And I'm talking dark places like you don't want to live anymore, right? You don't want to live on this planet anymore. You can feel hopeless. It makes you kind of reflect on your life and the choices that you've made, right? And where you want to go from here. All those kinds of things are coming up. And it's not that they're coming up out of nowhere. Excuse me, they've always been there inside you. Okay. So we're letting go of limitation, right? Creating chaos. And then we're coming into the gift, because let's not forget about the gifts, right? Every shadow has a gift. It's the gift of realism and innovation. So how I see this playing out on the external world is the Green New Deal, right? So remember, I'm not all political. I don't go into the duality of this is right, this is wrong. But I like to see how the program's playing out in the external world. So that's innovation. It's like, hey, let's get realistic here. There's nobody flying the plane, right? These leaders are corrupt, right? There's nobody flying. It's like, well, who's flying the plane? I better fly it, right? So we're all standing up. We're all standing up for the truth. So this is realism. It's like, okay, the global warming, we have to deal with this. This is a crisis. And then what comes is innovation. And that's the gift, is the innovation. And so remember that as humans, like, we're very, very creative. We're creative beings. So this is what it's awakening in us. So this channel is going to become undefined tomorrow. So just to know that. Okay, so the feeling of frustration and being stuck, that's going to start to move, especially when Uranus on March 6th moves into Taurus. Okay, so remember with depression, right? I just want to talk about depression. When you get depressed, it's like you don't run out to the doctor and buy a bunch of pills. That's not the way. And the pills are going to stop working really, really fast. They have already, right? Self-medication is not going to work anymore. So depression is just is showing you to go inside and reflect. That's all depression is calling you to do. It's like come inside. So use it as a messenger, right? Depression, whatever you're feeling. Oh, it's time for me to reflect. I've been too focused on the external out there. It's time to go inside. Okay, and then we have Saturn, and you'll see here is 54. That's also coming from the root. So more pressure. So Saturn's in 54 and Venus is in 54. So these two are together, this full moon. And what's that is greed. G-R-E-E-D. Greed, greed, greed. So again, Saturn is about the status quo. And what have we been seeing? Greed, greed, greed. Oh, this greed's been going on forever. Right? Now we're able to see it. We're able to see it. So we're still in the shadow of Saturn, still in the shadow of greed. So we're going to continue to see more and more of this until August 2019. And then after that it moves into the gift of perseverance. So this is the status quo, the outer authority. And so what we're learning here is what we value, right? Venus is what we value. And so we're not valuing greed anymore. You know, remember that show, the Rich and the Famous, that, right? There was this celebrity about people who were greedy, basically, and they owned all of these material possessions, right? We used to worship those people, and we aren't anymore, right? So our values are changing. So the gift here is aspiration. So this is the Kundalini, right? That Gene Key rules the Kundalini energy, the 54. And this is about aspiring to something greater than our own individual needs. Because really that's the magic pill for everything, is our purpose, is to do our soul purpose. So aspiring to something greater, right? So that's the lesson that Saturn is showing us. And not everybody's going to catch on. Remember, there's two species on the planet. There's one species that will continue to be ruled by fear, right? And that means ruled by greed and ego. And then there's another species that's taking the new route, right? The uncharted territory, the aspiration, right? Aspiring to something greater than our individual self. You must have had that experience when you get into that state of consciousness. It feels good, right? They're like, oh, I'm part of this greater whole. You know, it feels good because it's the truth. Okay. So then the nodes of the moon that I mentioned, so letting go of these limitations. Wherever you feel limited in your life, like really breaking through. Are you feeling that? Like it's like, oh, I'm so done with this. I'm so done with wherever you feel limited in your life. It could be your relationships, money, your health, whatever that is. You're ready to just bust through and move into what? The North Node is 56, and that's enrichment, the gift of enrichment. And that's about what gives you, what nourishes your soul. Right? What nourishes your soul? What enriches your soul? What enriches that part of you that longs to be your authentic self, right? What enriches that? What helps nourish that, right? That's that 56. And then tomorrow, it's going to switch to the 61. So Pluto's in the 61. Remember I did a video on that on insanity, right? On insanity. That's the shadow, is insanity. And so the South Node is there. So letting go of this insanity, of using our mind to navigate through life. right? It's because we're moving into our heart chakra. That's the Aquarian age. We're bowing our heads to our hearts. That's the new way. It's the feminine approach. So it's moving into the 62. So these are going to switch tomorrow. So I'm not going to talk too much about that. I may do another video on that. So letting go of the insanity of using the mind, and then moving into the 62, which is the gift of precision. So that means not becoming a victim of language. And we see this out in when argumentation, right? It's like people grab onto a word, and then, so a message is coming. This is the insanity here. The message is coming from someone, and then they're picking a word, and then they're just dissecting it, and then making up a story about how that person is of ill repute or a bad character or whatever, right? And smearing, right? So this is becoming a victim of language. And our leaders in the Piscean age use language to manipulate others. And you can see this. You can see this out in the world. So this is about getting precise with our language. So there's a precision to our language, so that people aren't going to get fooled anymore by this dog and pony show with the language. They'll be more precise, like what is that person really communicating. So you'll be able to do that with yourself too, so that your message will be clear. And precision is about letting the intellect go, right? Not using the intellect. And then, because intellect and intelligence are two different things. So it's letting go of the intellect so that a natural intelligence from our heart can start to emerge and start to use that. And the heart mind is way more intelligent than the intellect. The intellect is just the facts and figures. It's all based in the past, right? Our past is not a friend anymore. We can't be approaching these new problems in our life by using what worked in the past. It's right, the Aquarian age is not going to work anymore. We need freshness. We need creativity, right? We need innovation for that. So, and this is also, okay, so Mercury and Neptune are in 63. So you can see there's Mercury there. And then Neptune is down here. So they're both in 63. And that's the shadow of doubt. So this is about, right, that Neptune is very confusing and foggy. And so this can create doubt in the thinking. Like that's how the mind is going to start to react to this evolutionary energy, is to start to create doubt. So having doubts in yourself, doubt, will this world ever change? Right? Whatever doubts are doubts that you can do your destiny, whatever your doubts are coming up, because Mercury is about what we think about, right? And Neptune can create that fogginess. So I see it as a gift. I mean, having a cold, I've had a cold for almost a week now, you know, where you get foggy and you can't really think. You can't really think anymore. It's almost a gift. You know what? That's what I felt like. It was like, oh, this is a gift that my mind is offline just by this purification that I'm going through in my body. My mind's offline, and I can really just listen to my heart without, right, the noise, the chatter, right, on the roof, right? So this can be a gift of you. Embrace that. So if you get into the doubt, just remember that you're not your mind. It's that easy. And that's why the practice of Kundalini Yoga and meditation is so key, right? I'm biased because it's my main tool. But it gives you that detachment to like, oh, I'm not my mind. I'm not this body, right? I'm light. I'm love. I'm something greater than this. So it's the detachment from your mind. Oh, it's my mind freaking out, right? Because it's losing control, because the authority's got to go from here, to the heart. Okay. So let's go to the big star of the show, which is the moon. And it's right there in the 59. And that's coming off here. You can see the 59 here, right? So this is the sacral right there, 59. And this is the shadow of dishonesty. It's the shadow of dishonesty. It's the gift of intimacy. And it's the city of transparency. So if you're Kundalini Yoga teachers out there, you know this, that the Aquarian Age is all about transparency now. You can't hide. You can't hide the secrets anymore. So no more secrets. No more the public persona. You know, I wear the mask in the public, and then I'm this shady character, right, in private. There's no more of that. The shady character has to come into the light, too. So then we're seeing that with social media. I mean, just logically speaking, it's just, right, digital footprint wherever you go, right? You leave a digital footprint. So people can't get away with what they used to get away with. We're seeing that that's why we're seeing the greed and the corruption coming up through the corporations. No one can hide. So what is the moon doing? It's really, and you can hide in plain sight too, right? If you're an empath, especially if you're an empath, you know how to put on that invisibility cloak, right? When you're out in a group, right? You can be hiding within a group. You know what I'm talking about, right? Not really sharing much of yourself, being more of an observer, right? Or not speaking the truth when you're feeling something and you don't speak the truth. So that's the dishonesty. And I want to mention, I'll talk a bit more about this, but this 59 goes to the 6. They're not defined, but this is a channel, this 59-6 channel. It's called the channel of fruitfulness. And it's really about how we work together. Okay, so how we work together, because this is what we have to do. We have to work together to move into the Aquarian Age. There's no more lone wolves, right? So the 6 is conflict. So when you're dishonest, it creates conflict, right? And when you're in the transparency, it brings peace. It brings peace. Because this is about lying. It's about lying. And I'm not going to get it. It's not about judgment, like this is good or this is bad. This is in our genetics that we lie. So lying is about holding ourselves back, right? So an example would be like in your workplace, and you walk into your workplace and somebody says, "Hey, how are you?" And you just had a big fight with your spouse or your partner, and you're rattled, right? You're still processing it, and you do the "I'm fine" face. I'm fine, right? So this used to drive me crazy as a kid. So if you're an empath, you're an indigo, you know what is up. We were not wired to be able to hide ourselves. I could never hide how I was feeling. It would just be out. It was right there, right? Front and center. He's not feeling good, right? It's right on my face. So we were able to see that in other people. But what it created was kind of this crazy making, because that person would say, "I'm fine. What are you talking about? I'm fine." There was no logical proof, right? But it was a feeling inside that it was like, oh, that person's lying. But then you start to mistrust your system and how you're wired. That's not happening anymore, right? You're seeing this. Most of the mainstream are seeing all these politicians and corrupt CEOs and stuff are just big fat liars. They're seeing it now, right? It's becoming more and more visible. So there's no more hiding. So this is about how we work together. We need to become transparent with one another. So that doesn't mean, some people who overprocess, those people, you ask them how they are and they're telling you their whole life story and back when they were 3 and this happened. That's not about that, right? That's looking for attention, right? It's feeding the victim. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just being real, right? So let's back it up to the workplace thing. You just had a big fight with your spouse. Your workmate comes up, how are you? And it's all you have to say is, you know what? Be real. Like, oh, I'm just a little bit rattled. I had a fight with my spouse, and you know, I'm just processing, and I just need to get myself together. I'm going to go into the washroom and just have, you know, a little bit of quiet time, and thank you for asking. You know, do you see the difference? Instead of the pull, fix me, feed my victim. And that's about being real. So these, I don't know if you have that in your workplace, but check-ins, right? Check-ins are great if you're able, if you maybe you're an employer or you're in a position as a leader to bring that to your work team, is to have little check-ins. And that's all it is. It's like, how are you doing today? Right? How are you doing in this moment? And then people have a space to be honest, right? Honest and authentic and real. And then we understand each other. Oh, so-and-so is not having a good day today, and you're a little bit of like, you know, considerate of that person. You know what's happening. Instead of making up, the ego runs with the story, right? With the, oh, that person is unproductive and that person's slacking off, and you know, that's the ego's way, right? The ego's, the Piscean age way was like, leave your stuff at home. Don't bring it into the workplace because it affects our productivity. And that's not the way now. We have to be honest with one another. And this is about depth too, right? Depth. So the gift of the 59 is intimacy. Into me I see. And the intimacy starts with you. It's to be honest with yourself first. So it's not about talking yourself out of your feelings. That's a big thing that we do. We talk about ourselves out of our feelings and our emotions are real. They're not wrong. They're there for a reason. They're coming from your soul. Those emotions are coming from your soul, right? The deep, real ones. It's when the ego attaches them and then creates the story and then throws gasoline on the fire. That's right. That's something completely different than what I'm talking about. So just meditate on that. Like, how am I being dishonest with myself? Right? We can be dishonest with ourselves and making ourselves small. Right? Don't look to me. Don't look to me for any answers. I can't help you. I can't help you. I'm just like everybody else, right? I'm the victim. So it's like you're out in the forest with a bunch of people and you're lost and it's dark and everybody's like, I don't know, how are we going to get out? How are we going to get out? And you've got the compass and you throw it away. You throw it and you bury it somewhere because, oh, I got to fit in. I got to be a victim like everybody else, right? And chances are, if you're watching this, that you are a leader and you do have the answers. So it's about being honest in your greatness too, right? In what you're here to share. Okay. So before we start the meditation for this, do people have any questions or comments or word salad? Angie B says, calling me out. That's right. Oh, the other thing that I want to mention about the 59, because it's about our relationships, how we relate to one another, it's fear, right? Every shadow, we're talking about fear. So this is the fear of one another. We fear one another. And where's it coming from? It's coming from our genetics, right? So that's the fuel that's keeping us hot, hidden, and keeping our cards close to our chest, right? I'm not going to share too much of myself because that other person's going to use it as ammunition, right, and get back at me, right? That's how the shadow thinks. So it's a fear in your body. So when you're alone, this is why we isolate, and we, as empaths, we feel good when we're on our own or we're with our pets, right? Because we don't feel that fear. As soon as we meet another person and we're in their aura, that fear starts right? That fear comes up, and it's genetics. So what I suggest to you is to just be aware of yourself. Be aware of what's going on in your body when you're with other people, right? And then you'll be able to go, oh, I'm feeling this fear that CATALYST Yogi was talking about. This fear of in making me dishonest and not being myself, not shining my light. I'm going to transcend that by just allowing, okay, I'm just going to allow this fear to be, right? That it's okay. It's part of us purging this fear out of our genetics. That's what's happening in the Aquarian Age. All that fear has to purge. It has to move. Okay? So do this. And I love doing this with people. It's like, oh, it's coming up. I get excited when I feel it because I know that it's moving. Right? As soon as you feel it and you allow it, it moves. When you don't, you repress it and it stays with you. And you keep on with the same cycles. The other interesting thing, which is like a mind trip, right, is attraction. So in the Aquarian Age, right, the way that we join together, it's not going to be hormonal. It's not going to be sexual anymore. It's not going to be about procreation. We're coming together in a totally different way for the Aquarian Age. Aquarian relationships are I'm self-sovereign. I'm whole on to myself. I don't need that other person to complete me, my other half. I'm whole, right? And this other person is whole. And you're choosing to be with one another for different reasons. So, right, it's for spiritual reasons. Uplifting the other in higher consciousness, right? That's the purpose. But the old way is this genetics. So the fear of the opposite sex, right? Fear of the opposite sex. So really watch this. And that's attraction. Isn't that wild? When we fear each other, we're attracted to one another. When I learned that just like, just blew up my mind, right? So when that fear goes, there's no attraction anymore. So this is like, right, evolution tricking us. It's tricking us to move outside of our, this is, so we wouldn't go sleeping with our sisters and brothers and start having kids that way, right? That would not evolve the gene pool. It was like the people that were out of our gene pool, right? Out of our comfort zone. So watch that. It's like, oh, this is my genetics. That fear that I have of that woman or that man it's just my genetics. And that I'm going to still be myself. I'm still going to transcend that. Okay. So, okay. I have that even with my husband, with my children. Fear is attraction. Yeah, Joanne, fear is attraction. And it's also creative, right? So when you work with groups of people, you'll notice that, right? That shadow of conflict, that 6 over there, is when you're in a really good group, there's going to be conflict, especially when you're all aspiring to some greater purpose, right? That you're all have this vision together. You'll find that there's conflict, and that's part of the creative process, is this conflict and this agitation. Okay, so Kelly Louise Dixon, I just want to answer this before we do our meditation. When the full moon passes through a sign, zodiac sign, is that more relevant to you when the sign is where your sun, moon, or rising sign is? Well, it depends on the house system, right, Kelly, where that full moon sits in the house. So it's going to affect you, right? Each of the 12 houses has their own little flavor of how the full moon hits. So with the rising sign, your ascendant, right? So in this case of your Virgo rising, it's going to really affect you to have the full moon on your ascendant rising sign. And you're in the opposite sign too, right? It's Pisces. That's true. Okay. So let's do a fun meditation. And this is, because remember we're purging all our conditioning, all the brainwashing that we received, all the way back to our childhood and all the way back through our past lives too. We carry that conditioning with us even from our past lives. That there's this personality that gets formed inside of us that's not really us. And it gets created. It's a psychological thing. It gets created to cope, to survive. Because you got to fit in with your family. You got to fit in with the tribe, right? And Uranus is blowing that out of the water. It's like, no, in the Aquarian Age, we're all going to be unique freaks. Like, we got to start embracing your freak flag and waving it about. Because we're all, I meet so many people, and the ones that look totally normal and that they fit in, they're the biggest freaks of all. When you scratch the surface a little bit, every human's really quirky because we're very creative. So this is what we're stripping away, right? All that conditioning that we use to just fit in, and you'll feel that inside. It's like, I cannot fit in anymore. I can't. I feel like I'm going to burst if I can't be myself. And you have to be yourself in the Aquarian Age. So this is the hidden self that's not really you. So this meditation helps to clear that out. And so if you're watching on your phone or your laptop or your computer, you're probably not on the ground. So it's to sit in rock pose, to sit on your heels, but you don't have to do that. But if you want to do it perfectly, maybe you're watching this in the future, is you can put the video on pause and then get yourself into rock pose, so sitting on your heels. If not, it's okay. So you're sitting with a straight spine. And the mantra is liar, liar, L-I-A-R, liar. And so liar. So what you're going to do is you're going to, I just want to check something, okay? Just bear with me. Okay, that's right. Okay, so you're going to bring your hands into Gya Mudra, like that. So thumbs and index finger touching. The other three fingers are pointing up, and you bring that by your side. So relax by your side. And then your eyes are focused at the tip of your nose. And so you're going to be the breath pattern is you're going to inhale and then exhale all the air out. And then while you're holding the air out, you're going to start to pump your navel, and at the same time mentally vibrating liar. Okay, so mentally vibrating liar every time you pull the navel in. Okay, so we'll do that for a while. Everybody's got that? Eyes at the tip of the nose. Inhale, exhale all the air out. Suspending the air out, and then mentally vibrate liar, liar, liar as you're with your navel. Okay? I'm going to just set. I'm going to do this with you. And I want to, let's see how long we can go. So eyes at the tip of the nose. Okay. So inhale to begin. And keep doing it until you need to inhale, and then continue the process. So imagine that non-self that's not you being pushed out of your body, out of your mind, out of your psyche as you pump your navel and chant liar mentally. And keep up. Stay with it. You got last minute. And inhale deeply through the nostrils. Suspend the breath. And exhale. And just slowly lower your hands down. And eyes are closed. And just feel yourself for a moment. Relax your shoulders. Your shoulders are down and relaxed. Relax your facial muscles. Relax your belly. And focusing on your breath. Let your body completely relax. And now bring your awareness to your heart. So you're the center of your chest, your heart chakra. And this time it's all about the heart. The heart knows that we're all connected. And the heart is waiting for you to stop listening to your mind and your ego and move into this place where there's wisdom and grace and magic. So breathe into your heart and let life in and trust life. And love yourself. Just consciously do it now. I'm going to commit to love myself unconditionally, warts and all. Everything about me I'm going to love. And only then can I extend that love to others. So put down your defenses. Put down the walls and the barriers to your heart. You're no longer that little child, and you're safe now to open your heart, just like when you were a little child. You lived with an open heart. The heart can set healthy boundaries. And you know how to love yourself, and you know how to take care of yourself if you listen to your heart. No one can hurt you anymore. No one can hurt you anymore. So let life in. And let people in. Let them see the real you. No more hiding. And when you show the real you, you give permission for them to show you their true self. When you're your authentic self, you give others permission to be their authentic self. We're more alike than the ego lets us know. So the only thing that's stopping you from love is you. The only thing stopping you from happiness is you. And life is happiness. This is the language of the soul, happiness and joy. So choose happiness right now in this moment. Not tomorrow, when you accomplish something in the future, when you lose weight, when you make more money, when you get that job or the perfect partner, but right now, give yourself permission to be happy. So choose happiness right now. And take this happiness into the world and spread it to everyone you meet. Spread that joy and happiness to everyone you meet. And inhale deeply. And exhale. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. So spread that love and spread that light into the world. God knows it needs it. This world needs you, right? Needs you, needs me. There's no Savior coming, right? Jesus is not coming from a cloud to save us all. We're the ones that we've been waiting for, as the prophecy says, right? So just spread the love and light and be honest and authentic with other people, and you'll realize you'll be pleasantly surprised when you come out of the closet as a spiritual person, right? It's like, oh, I didn't know you thought like that, right? Just be yourself. Okay, everybody. So let's close. Okay. So, do you have, what's this? Do you have a YouTube Kundalini Yoga meditation we can use on some of this amazing teaching? Well, this one you can use. Just Google, right? CATALYST Yogi, whatever you're looking for. I've got hundreds. I think I have over 200 videos now that you can check out. So the other announcement that I have is, you know, my Soul Purpose Activation Program, the 8-week. Well, I'm changing it. So it's going to be a standalone program. So that means that you can start at any time, and it's going to be a lot cheaper. Okay? So it will be ready next week. I just have to tweak it for this and that. So it'll be a lot cheaper, 8 weeks. And so you'll have the option of just doing the program by yourself, self-study. It's all there, like hours of videos and sadness. It's all there. And then the other option is you can add me to it, so that I would give you some kind of reading at the end of it, like an hour reading. So that will be a little bit more, but it's going to be a lot cheaper than the previous price. So we really want to empower people. And the Emotional Freedom Program is really my baby. And that's the healing the inner child. And that's really, people need a lot of support with that program. And the next round will be starting in May 5th. Okay? So that's my announcements. Okay? So let's prepare to close and bring your palms together at your heart center. And just centering yourself. And sending this beautiful energy out to your community, all and your loved ones, especially people that are really going through a hard time right now. To send them your blessings of love and light in the world as we move into this, as we transition into this new age of Aquarius. And then receive. I want you to receive the blessings coming to you from your ancestors, who are very happy that you're doing this work. Receive their blessings and their support from the other side of the veil, that they are here with you right now in this moment. Okay, so inhale deep. Exhale. Inhale to the base of the spine. Exhale. And inhale to close. Satnam, everybody.